approaching the end of May now, so it's time to plant out the cucumbers. Been getting on with a few other jobs, so some of that will be in this video and some will be in probably the video to follow. There'll be some allotment footage, how things are getting on there, and planning for doing the corner where the compost area is and all that raised bed. There's all that to come over the next few videos. I've not begun the work there yet, but I'm about to, sort of weather permitting and energy permitting. But I've harvested some potatoes, so there'll be a bit of a potato reveal in this, put some outdoor tomatoes out, planted some tomatoes in the sort of final placing. But there's other things that will, like I say, will appear in either this video or the next one. So basically I've used this sort of little knock-up homemade greenhouse for years now. I used to grow tomatoes in it, but now it's been cucumbers for years now. So I used to do 5, but I'm just going to put 4 in here. I usually do one that's called Fem Spot. I've done it for years. I've grown the Telegraph Improved, Market More, Burpless Tasty. But things like Telegraph Improved, anything that's not like an F1 produces male flowers, and especially if it's a greenhouse variety, you need to start picking the male flowers off, otherwise your fruits can be bitter. But the F1s don't tend to produce the male flowers. So I've got 2 varieties here. I'm going to do 2 of the Fem Spot, and I've got 2 that are called Nimrod. And I think the Nimrod are like a small sort of lunchbox size, because you'd be surprised that 4 cucumber plants can put out some cucumbers, you know, and it's trying to keep it up with eating them, because once they start coming, you can only cling film so many and keep them for so long. But some of these little lunchbox ones are handy sort of snack size, you know, sandwiching that, and then the big ones, you know, they'll be fine. I thought I'll do 4, see how they go this year. They're roughly sort of about 15 inches apart. This bed is a bit deeper than it used to be. Last year I sort of built it up, so it's kind of about 10 inches high, this bed. 10 inch by 8 inch, roughly. Just filled with old compost, spent compost, you know, a bit of manure in the bottom. It was all filled up again last year. I topped it up this year with a bit of my own compost, dug in a little bit of perlite, put a bit of bloodfish and bone in it, about a month ago. And I covered it over because it was very dry. So I wet it back up, kept it covered. It just gives it a chance to settle and for some life to come back into it and sort of rejuvenate. But it should be okay. Cucumbers don't like getting too wet, especially around the neck. It can rot. So don't really plant them too much deeper, if at all any deeper. I tend to, they do like kind of being on a ridge if you can, because that way the roots get wet, but where it meets the ground will always remain dry, which is what you want really. So it's fairly straightforward. I have strings, which I'll either attach to a screw or a cane, and as it grows, you just wrap the plant round. You don't have to pinch out the suckers, you know, but I tend to do, otherwise it can get a bit of a wild mess in here. I've got some cucamelons, which are these little things. Where they're going to end up yet, I don't know. So it's all an ongoing thing. As room comes available, or I see a little gap, I think I'll sneak that in there. Right, so I'll do one of these and then we'll have a look at the rest of the footage then. It's just a simple hole. You know, it's not heavily compacted this or anything. It's nice and light. Nestle that down like that. So you're quite happy with it. It's always best to sort of take care at this stage. Say it's okay to go a little bit deeper because it will put out little like anchorage roots. But if it gets too wet around that neck, it'll shrivel up and you've lost it then. You know, plenty of roots and even a little worm in there as well. You know, that's my own compost as well. Pop that in there. Just nestle it in. Just give it a light press down, but not too much. You know, some people like that with courgettes and things, you know, you put it like a little well where it gathers the water, but I tend to try and avoid getting it too wet around the stem. You know, when you water it, I'll put my watering can head right to the ground here and just build it up with water like that. You know, I'll put like a plant pot and water it through there. That's fine. So I just do that with all of them. Like I say, I'll attach this string here, and as it grows, I'll just wrap it round. But it'll get another, you know, double in height before it'll start to lean everywhere. And you'll get a little bit of a breeze swirling around in here, and it'll rock you about, and things like that. It helps sturdy things up. So that's simple as that for the cucumbers. I remember rightly, about 1st of March I sowed some potatoes in some compost, and I'm going to bring it into the sort of comparison because it was one of the composts that was supplied by B&Q. It was the, I think it was a Good Home Enriched multi-purpose. So I thought, you know, I'll see how they get on. You know, because the other ones are still a little bit more to grow yet. So they'll obviously probably be in about a month I'll harvest them. So, you know, they've had like 85 days, something like 84, 85 days. So there should be something, and I'll weigh them, and it's just a comparison. Tops are looking a little bit tatty, but I think it's just a bit of insect attack and a bit of natural dieback, you know, which kind of signals that the plants being, the energy being drawn back in to swell the tubers up. I'm not sure how many I planted in these smaller pots. I can't remember if it was just 1 or 2 in each. I can't remember, but there'll be 4 in that one. The only difference is these were my own potatoes that were saved up, left over from last year. The other ones were, you know, actual seed potatoes. It shouldn't really cause any difference. Sometimes tops can be big, dense and bushy, and sometimes not so much, but I don't always go off the tops, you know, because before now I've had poor top growth, but the spuds have been good, you know, so that's the beauty of it, you know, some root vegetables, you just don't quite know what's going under there, and sometimes you feel around the pot, and especially with the main crop, as you start feeling the bulges and that, and you think, oh, there's going to be a good, you know, and it's just one potato that's massive, you know, which can happen. You can get like just a couple of big potatoes, you know, or a lot of tiny ones, so it's just one of them things. But this variety is swift, so I'll harvest all of them today because I need some spuds for tea and stuff. But I'll probably leave one of the small pots another week, so I'll harvest them too today. And I'll just weigh the big pot and I'll make a, you know, a record. It'll just be good to compare that with the other ones because obviously there's my own compost and the other brands involved in that. Right, so it's a first sort of reveal of the year, I guess, so fingers crossed if it's a good one. Means the year's going to be a good one, so right, we'll crack on. So it couldn't be simpler, just a case of cut the tops off. You know, if you compost things, sure, you know, whack them in the compost heap, they're fine. I just put straw in here too, it kind of helps retain a little bit of moisture. But you can use grass clippings as long as you don't put a thick layer on. You know, grass clippings are okay if you add them, you know, sort of like 1/2 inch, you know, and give it a few days, dry out a little bit, and then add a little bit more. Because he spent a bit of time in the polytunnel. You know, sometimes it can get quite leggy, but I'd try to give them as much outside time as possible when the weather allowed it. You know, don't throw this compost away because you can put it in a bag or mix it 50-50 with your own compost, or just, you know, add a little bit more feed to it, and it's good to use again. You know, you're going to grow some later sort of potatoes, which you could probably, some potatoes that you save out of here, you'd fire to seed and put them back in a tub, maybe middle to end of August, and maybe the so-called Christmas ones if you can miss the blight window. Moment of truth, see if it's any good. So, I mean, there's lumpy compost at the bottom. Usually I like to see, there's plenty of roots, but I can't see any tubers around. So yeah, it's fairly coarse compost this. So it's usually when you break it apart, if you've got a cluster in the middle. Seeing a few, but not many. They're a nice size, to be honest. Sometimes you get them in the massive. There's a few smaller ones on there, you know, another week or two they'd have been alright. Better take them anyway, just because they're part of the way in. Well, this is from like 4 seed potatoes, so it's not looking great. There's a seed potato there, I just put my thumb in, a bit rotten. But It's not the best reveal. But like I say, you know, it's grown from, you know, just my own potatoes. You know, which is fine to do. You know, if you had a good clean crop. I mean, these are actually a nice size. I'm glad I've got them at this size. You know, and they're fairly consistent in size, apart from some real small ones, which are great for potato salads. And there is something about that sort of first early potato, kind of when they're at the best, really. But, you know, I didn't water this a lot, but it's not dry. You know, because sometimes if you overwater them, you can cause problems with your actual spuds to rot off. Remember rightly, I did put some feed in this, but it's not a good harvest. Usually I'd kind of hope for about £1 to £2 per seed potato, and there's nowhere near that there, I don't think. You know, considering you put 4 potatoes in, so if I took 4 potatoes out, that's the overall yield. It's not great. Whether it was the seed potatoes that I used because of my own, or it's just the compost. That's the only difference between this and the rest of it, just the seed potato. You know, maybe another 5 to 10 days that I'd have gained a couple more bigger ones, but it's by the by, you know, off sort of first reaction for that. It's not very impressive at all. But this is how you find these things out. You've got to try them. But no, there's nothing else in there, so I'll weigh them. We'll try one of the smaller tubs. Sometimes it can be better if you grow like 2 tubs, because it can kind of be conflicting. You can have one tub that does great and one tub that does nothing, but yet they're both doing exactly the same. And that's just, I don't know, no way real way of explaining that. I'm not going to take any weight off of the carrier bag. What have we got? That's £1, 12 ounces. It's not great at all, really. I'd have been probably happier with something like, you know, £4 to £6 out of that. I'd have kind of hoped for. You know, that's kind of what I'd expect off one seed potato, really. That's a good haul off one seed potato for an early, you know, after 80 odd days. When you leave it for like 100 days, it's, you know, you're going to get a lot more dense. I'll try one of these other ones just to see. So I can't remember if there was 1 or 2. I think there's just 1 in each one of these. So the other ones, the other potatoes that are, you know, being in the comparison, they've got like probably another 30 odd days to go yet. You know, and there's a big difference in tops, which we'll have a quick look at after. You know, and my own's the one that's lagging behind. Right, see how this one gets on. Big worm in there. So, you know, I'd kind of expect more potatoes around the outside. But they're lovely and clean. I'll give them the due there, they're lovely and clean. Yeah, it's just one seed potato, that. That's all we're going to get. Not really worth weighing them really, but so I'm pretty sure it was the Enriched compost. Might not be, might be just a good home multi-purpose standard one, but in there you've got what, 14 ounces. You know, so yeah, it's probably a better yield there per seed potato, but it's obviously, you know, in 12 litres of compost, you know, you kind of be expecting out of that 2 to 3 pound of spuds. But, you know, quite a poor yield. Would I recommend this compost for potatoes? I don't see why they wouldn't do better, but obviously on this occasion, we don't know yet until we harvest the other ones how it compares. But you have to try these things, and that's how you get your results, and it kind of points you in the better direction of how to do things and what to use. Without the trials, you know, yeah, it's anybody's guess. Right, so these are the other tubs that I planted up for the comparison. There's 5 tubs, one of them in which is my own. So we'll go through. Obviously you can tell there's a growth difference in the top. Whether that's the sort of the feed that's inside it, how it's, you know, if it's something more nitrogen based, it's going to give out plenty of top growth, but not necessarily have the stuff in there to get it going for roots. You know, which you can kind of do all that yourself. You just add, like, you know, to help the tubers swell, just start adding high potash feed. But potatoes do need a bit of nitrogen in the initial growing stages. The first like 4 to 8 weeks of growth, they need nitrogen for the tops. So we'll start off up at this end, if I can find the actual plant label hidden beneath the foliage. There somewhere. Right, so this one, that's the Verve container and basket compost. This one is, this is a Miracle Grow Premium. Remember how that was like a high water retention. This one is, try and feel for the label. I think this is the Westland. Let's see. This is a Westland multi-purpose with John Innes. You know, so that one's, you know, it was leading the way for quite some time, but the others are catching up. This one here is the Westland All Plant, and that one at the end is homemade. That's my own compost. It's funny, the only one that's starting with buds on, flower buds, is my own. So, not sure why. Not being fed, nothing, it's just as a compost as they are. So I think what I might do, the next watering I give them all, I'll give them a potash feed. Just a light potash feed, and that will be the only feed they get. Just anything that's on there to start the swelling. Whatever I do for one, I've got to do for them all to keep it all balanced. Remember, right, none of these had bloodfish and bone put in at the start. They were just straight out the bag into the pots. So that's how they're getting on. They've got about another 30 days, and then we'll get on with them. I'm going to pop these tomatoes in now. The rest of them are all done in here, but I saved these for just to show you how I do the actual put them in the final place, because obviously you know, if you watched one of my previous videos, it's like a double pot method. It just makes this stage a bit easier. There's less disturbance. You just need to give them time to put roots down to the bottom of the pot. You know, and it should be fine. I've never really had any problems before. Sometimes might be a bit of weird growth going on the top as they accept a different type of compost or a different sort of growing environment, but they settle in. Sometimes you get leaf curl and it rolls, but it's not necessarily anything wrong. It's just sometimes you get warm days and cool nights, and it's a temperature thing sometimes. So it's pretty straightforward, really. I mean, you don't have to have a plastic sheet down or a membrane or anything. It's just to help retain some moisture, because they only really mainly get watered through these pots here, which are just like 3-inch pots, just sort of sunk in between. So they kind of get watered through there, and then they get fed through the top. That's the principle. You know, and if I need to wet the beds up even more, I can always like unpick the edge of this, put the nozzle at watering can. The idea is don't try and get your foliage or your tomatoes wet or anything like that. They have strings coming down, which I'll probably show in a later video, because I've still got all the shelves up still, and that's how I sort of train them up. But at the moment, they've just got these small canes at the moment, which it'll buy them over for a couple of weeks. So I've got, you know, everything down the plot, and I can get the actual shelf out of it then. It's pretty straightforward, so I'll just move these to the back out of the way. These are basically the cherry tomatoes. These are. I've got the Gardener's Delight and 2 Sun Gold. And obviously down this bottom end I get a problem with red ants, so I've just put some ant powder down because they are a bit of a pain. I had got rid of them, but they just sort of come back this last couple of weeks. So obviously the compost level, so I need to recess that down, which I'll show you why when we actually put the tomato in. So I'm just going to take it down at sort of a good inch. You know, you don't have to do it all neat. You can just stick your hand in and scoop it out if you want that. Keep that compost, because, you know, it's like in here when I've done like 18 of them, you know, there's quite a lot of compost, so you can actually just put that into a pot, and if you've got a spare tomato plant, shove it in the pot. You know, or a cucumber out like that. Don't throw it away. Once you've got it sort of down, it doesn't have to be perfect. Just sort of loosen the soil up a little bit underneath. Just helps accept the new pot. The hard lumps, don't worry about them. It'll be fine. You know, they're quite forgiving tomato plants with roots. They are pretty generous with roots. As soon as they sort of go in, I'd probably expect within about a week that you won't be able to pull them out, because they'll have dumped roots down. And it's how you water them that encourages that. I did water all these a few days ago, but these have run a bit dry, so they'll get one water now and then they won't get watered again, probably for nearly a week and a half, 2 weeks, just to force them to stop growing the top and get some roots out. So you get this pot here, there's 2 pots, and flip the bottom one off, and that is just all roots at the bottom. So I think these went in 24th, 25th. So almost 4 weeks they've been in this pot. They could have gone in probably, you know, a couple of weeks ago, to be honest, but it's just so as long as you've got roots there, and simply just nestle it down into that sort of little depression you've made. When you touch the bottom, just turn it a bit, and all that'll do, it'll break up that bottom bit of the root ball. You don't have to push it down too hard or anything, because the roots will tap in. And then all I tend to do is I'll get my cane and I'll push that right down into the bed. Like that. And that just supports. I mean, these will be redundant after a while, these canes. It's just a tiny string to them at the bottom. Some people, you know, they bury the actual the string in, which is fine, whichever works for you. And it's quite simply just, they'll get a good drink now from the top. Just going to fill that right to the brim, let that sink. And then I'll probably repeat that, and that'll be it for watering for a couple of weeks. You know, because all the little worms will come up and they'll join these 2 soils together, 2 composts together, and the roots will fill the gaps. And, you know, I've no real qualms about they'll root down, and you've got spare pots if you need them for anything. It's pretty simple, so I'll do these other 3. Once you get going at it, it doesn't take long. But I was out the other morning, I thought, well, I needed to get them in, so I started getting them in. I thought I'll leave a few just to show you. They're all done the same, they're just different varieties of tomato. I will be putting my outside ones in the ground as well, so I'll probably show you how to do that. Nothing special really, I just need to sort of clear a bit of area for them first. These beds were all sort of prepared about a month ago. Just had some like a bit of feed put in, topped up with a bit of my own compost, mixed a bit of perlite in just to help, because it is quite thick because it was predominantly manure last year. You know, it's also a good time to check out any side shoots or suckers. Well, you can see, but you get like your main growing stem, and you get like a leaf axis, and in between you get like a little shoot. Just pinch it off, and you know, you can sometimes near the top you kind of can lose a growing tip sometimes, so it's always handy sometimes to leave it a little while. Don't let it get too big, but you can just, you know, if it's too big to snap off, just cut it off with something nice and sharp. That way then you just one growing tip to the plant, because that's sort of like because they're grown in a sort of cordon fashion, or they call it sort of indeterminate, where the outdoor ones, certain varieties are determinate, which means you grow them as a bush. Just leave them to their own, and they'll be fine. Oh. You know, I mean, if you've got really good compost, your tomato plants will do really well. But I mean, obviously it takes a year or two for the bed to sort of stabilise, if you know what I mean. You know, because the last compost was in here for quite a few years, so it had the life in it. You know, so I did throw like a trowel full of soil in each bed, just to, I suppose it's like inoculate it type thing, to any life or bugs that are in the soil go in, because it had dried right out this side, so it's a case of wetting it up, turn it to like really quite sloppy, just to get it, you know, wicking the soil again, you know, all the water up, so it'll help retain the moisture. I always find sun golds, they can be a bit of a bendy plant. Sometimes if you compost flies through too quick, you water through the compost, it's just around the edges here, just make sure it's kind of sealed, because sometimes when the compost dried it shrinks a bit, you know. But like I say, it's my own compost, this. It's not the best, but it works because it's got them this far. Whether it have a detrimental effect in the final product, you know, harvest and that, then it's just one of the risks you take. But the idea is to try and be a bit more self-sufficient with compost. You know, because once you've got a few compost bays full, and it's better off if it can age a little bit, if it's covered up, you know, and you can rot something down and leave it covered up for a year or so. It just gets better with age, compost, for some reason. Less disturbance in it, it's had a chance to become, you know, a better growing medium all around. I'm half expecting this one at this end to have a few problems, because the ants' nest being down here, they can put air pockets in. Have to get some more water for that one, and then water that. So it couldn't be easy. That's all I do with my tomatoes. And then, like I say, I'll show the strings in probably the next video, or an update on how things are doing, and show you how I sort of grow them up, the strings. But basically they're just a string, and as it grows, you just wind the string around it. As long as you've got something above it you can attach the strings to. You know, if you use canes are fine and tie them in. I've got a habit when I'm using canes in here about poking holes through the roof in the polytunnel. So we'll have a look at something else now, and then we'll see what we get done. Right, if you remember about 4 weeks ago, I potted on my tomatoes into their sort of final pots before being planted into a bed or going in the ground, which is how I showed you the 2-pot method. Different compost we used, and also 2 types of tomato plants. There was the Marmande, which is a beefsteak, and the Subarctic Plenty, which is a tomato supposed to be for more cooler climates. It was developed to sort of be grown in Greenland, for the armed forces originally. But it's something I've grown on and off for years. So it grows like a little bush, so if you haven't got a lot of room, it does get blight, it's not like it crops any earlier, to be honest, but it's just nice to see I grow them like a little hedgerow. They're pretty self-supporting, even though I do put canes in to help them out. But they're kind of, they're determinate types. They grow and they'll sort of stop and they'll just thicken out. And then I tend to try and nip all the growing tips off when it gets to August, just to so everything can ripen up. So, but then the difference is, we're all different composts, is the colour, which is pretty much down to either one, the variety, or the amount of feed that's in. None of these have been fed anything. They were just, they've been watered the same. Obviously, there's some slightly different pots, but the volume is the same. These all 2 litres, I do these. So we'll go through. These are all Marmande, bar one. This one is a Subarctic Plenty. So that is an element, but over looking wise, it looks healthy. It's got a good trunk on it. This one's okay. These ones are okay. These, this is typical when they're yellowing off lower leaves. They've had plenty of light, so it's not a light thing. This is a deficiency. So you'd need to start, obviously, when you start getting flowers, you're supposed to feed anyway. So once they get the feed and the right sort of balance, the growing tip would green back up. If I plant these on, they wouldn't really have too much problem. They'd just sort of like tap into the new roots. In a couple of weeks, you'd start seeing greener growth, because they're not dead. They just get a little bit of a setback till they get going again and sort of heal a bit. These lower leaves you cut off because they're pointless trying to correct them because it just ain't going to happen. So we'll go through the actual brands of compost. We'll start from sort of like, worst to best. So this one here, which is a Marmande, it's the one that I wasn't a fan of. I'm not saying it's a bad compost, but this is the Westland Young plant with John Innes that is like quite soil based. It's quite dense. So that one, it is a young plant, but it's lacking. So then it's got John Innes in, which is supposed to help feed it. So for me, I say it's only my own personal opinion. I'm not a fan of that type of compost. For some things, it's okay for roots and things because they like that loamy sort of feel. But I think for anything that's a fruit plant, they like the old fibrous stuff. Then this next one here, which is lacking a bit, which I'm quite surprised about because as far as the potatoes go, potatoes are doing okay. Excuse the noise, a little helicopter going over. But this one is the Verve container and basket compost. It's pale enough, some of the leaves are yellowing off, so it's just lacking in in sort of basic trace elements and feed. So if you got like a tomato feed, started adding that, it would probably perk up a bit and be okay. They are getting ready to go in bigger pots, but this is an ample sized pot for a plant that size, so it's not the size of pot. We'll do the back 3 after. This one here, it's fairly small, it's not as big as them, but it's nice and green. There's nothing wrong with it apart from a few eggs on the back of the leaf there, which I don't know what they are, so I'll get rid of them. Friend or foe, I don't know what they are, so I'll get rid of them. So it's got the suckers on it. There's nothing wrong with it. It's fruiting okay. Nothing wrong with the growing tip. And that is my own compost. So yeah, it's not as big as them, but it's done on this occasion, noticeably different in the colour straight away. Sturdiness, about the same. Not as chunky as that one. This one is really chunky, but this one is a subarctic plenty. You see, so it's quite chunky, that one anyway. This one here is the one that doing well for the potatoes. This is a Westland multi-purpose plus John Innes. You know, it's doing okay. It's starting to show some signs of purpling and yellowing on the lower leaves, so it's running out. So it might have a good bulk of initial nitrogen feed, but I still think compared to my own, I haven't got any of that going on yet. So, but it is a good compost. You know, I would buy that, I would use that, no questions about that. And this one here, which is weird because the potato plant isn't doing as good as that one, but in this case the tomato plant's doing better than that one. And this is the Westland all plant. You know, it's not showing any yellowing or purpling or anything like that. The only thing I do notice is it dries out quite quick, this one. You know, so nothing's been watered more or less, because it's like my own is quite heavy because it's quite dense because it's food scraps. But that one's doing okay. You know, so they will all work. It's just obviously if you're using these ones, you require feed. So these ones at the back here, these are subarctic plenties. So I'll bring this other subarctic plenty forward. That's the Westland multi-purpose for John Innes. Push those to the back. So these tall pots, I do like this compost. It's nice out the bag. It's nice to work with. But obviously it just needs a bit of feed. So whether you put a bit of balanced stuff in with it when you initially do it, that'll help it out. So same again. As like I said, this is beginning to run out of food. You know, it's only 4 or 5 weeks in. What was it, 24th of April? What are we on today, 23rd of May? You know, and they're starting to go hungry. But these were all done in the Verve container and basket compost, these three. So all 4 of these are subarctic plenty. You know, so for that one, it's a different pot, but it doesn't matter, it's the same volume. I'm not going to bring that into the equation. I don't think it's going to bother it at all. I could have a look at the root growth on this. You know, roots at the bottom there, no problem. This, it's got pearl out the top, a lot of it will fall out. But there's only just roots starting to appear at the bottom. So I imagine it's quite a dense root ball, which is what I want. Quite a deep root ball, it'll get planted into the ground. I'll probably plant it right past these bottom leaves into the ground, cut some of these lower stems off, and it'll do okay. You know, I've no qualms there. It'll get going. So it's just surprising, you know, the different brands, the different results. But the biggest thing here is obviously lack of feed. That's growing wise, they're all suitable to grow in. Yeah, you know, the loam-based one I think is a little bit too dense. You know, if you really open, I mean, I put perlite in it, but if it was mixed with something like the coconut stuff, the coir, would line it up, it would probably be okay then. Well, it needs feed. But like, it's also another thing because it's a dense, you know, this could be a result of root rot. You know, it's not rot in the roots, there's no yellowing of roots, but there isn't as many there. It's quite tough and sandy. You know, I think it just it's too much hard work for it to get in. Can't breathe. You know, and they do need air. So it's just a way of looking at that, and you get a rough idea of the difference. You know, like I say, some of the potatoes, you know, they were doing complete opposite. You know, they were doing better, even though they're the same family. Really, you know, but just a preference for roots and fruits. Looks like this got some good flower production on it. This is just beginning, but it's got a right good growing tip on it. But that's some Armand. This is subarctic plenty. So the only one I can compare this subarctic plenty to, really, is these tall pots. You know, it's a thicker set plant, but that's just down to access to nutrients. That's all I can put that down to. So if you wanted to use the Verve container and basket, put some, you know, a balanced feed in it, you know, a bit of bloodfish and bone, you know, or even when you're soaking it, so a little bit of liquid seaweed just to help it. That would be fine. And if it works out cheap to do that, and then buying a bag of that, then go with that option. But they will all grow. If you start feeding, they will all grow. This one would eventually get going, but like I say, it's quite thin here. I think it just doesn't like heavy, wet, compact. You know, so if you really opened it up with some sort of, you know, quite coarse grit or something fibrous, it would be okay then. But yeah, I'm quite pleased with my own. You know, it's kind of nice and dark green, nice and healthy, flowers on it. So I'll probably definitely carry on growing this one because it's my own. You know, I might even, if I've got any more of my own compost left, I don't think I have, to be honest. Otherwise, I'd grow it full term in my own. But I've got some compost out the raised beds in the polytunnel. You know, that's made of my own and some manure from last year. So it's not bought, it's kind of generated, you know, by me. So I might put that in that pot and just see how it gets on like that. And then, you know, if I could grow another one in a full pot of its own kind, and then see how that one gets on. So we shall get on. I'll show you how I plant these anyway. Well, I'll just show you how I plant these. I'll do one of them and then we'll have a look at them when they're all in. They're going to be spaced roughly sort of, you know, 12, 14 inches apart. They are relatively close to potatoes. You have to watch for blight, but they're going to be wherever they are in the garden. If either of them get blight, everything's got blight. So you just keep an eye on them, and once it appears, harvest what you can, and then get rid of the plant. You know, but like I say, get to August, stop all growing tips, and it'll allow anything that's on there to ripen up. So there's no real mad preparation. What I used to do, I used to buy some really cheap grow bags, dig a trench and fill it with a grow bag. But I didn't the other year. You know, I'm not doing today. I'm just going to dig a hole, mix a bit of bloodfish and bone meal in, and plant it. I'm just going to sort of prepare the plant first. You know, so some of these lower leaves, I'm going to cut off, leaving about an inch of stem, because I don't want too much splashback, you know, from the soil. Obviously the soil can contain problems. You know, and as it grows, because I want a good sort of 6 inches below the plant with no foliage really. So that's one's I'll just sort of scribe 2 lines in. It's going to go in between, just so I've got enough room to get down here. The onions are here and that, but they'll be fine. In case of, it's quite firm, this soil, but it's like I say, it's had years of growing stuff in it. Had all sorts dug into it. You know, and it comes okay after a while. I think it takes, you know, about 3 years to get your soil all up and functioning, get it full of all the goodness in that. Dig a fairly deep hole. And she gets some bloodfish and bone meal. Just an ounce and a half, something like that. Put that in the planting hole. Just dig it round in there, just to avoid any sort of strong bits getting in contact with it. Check how we are for depth. Just dig that down a bit more. Like I say, it's going to be a little bit deeper than it is originally anyway. But variety subarctic plenty. Put out roots, a little bit on the dry side, but I'm not bothered. Because all them roots, you have to tease them out. You can do if you want, you can give it a little rub around here and there. Just tease some of the roots out. Shove it down in the hole. And simply just fill in round it. And I've got some grass clippings that have dried out the last few days. So once I've watered it, I'll mulch it with grass clippings. Like I say, it's just these parts here, like they're touching the ground. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. That one, because it's all going to grow fresh top anyway, providing there's no problems. Right, so I'll do the rest of them, and then we'll have a look back at them. That's all the subarctic plants in the forum. The first three here, you know, these three are the ones that were in the Verve basket and container. And that last one up there was the one that was in the Westland multipurpose with John Ennis. So they'll all start to green up, I should imagine, if there's no problems. And once they get some roots into soil, mulch them with some grass clippings, only a really thin layer, just to prevent soil splashback, which I'll keep applying, just like really thin. Don't overdo it because you could burn things or it's a bit too nitrogen rich, so just enough layer and it'll stick to the soil. You don't have to worry about it blowing everywhere. You know, and it all conditions the soil anyway, so it's a little bit of feed that goes down, but the main root ball is down in this sort of subsoil where the old bloodfish and bones mixed in, and obviously nutrients from years gone by that are down there. So it should be fine. I've not trenched it out like I used to do, because I used to obviously dig a long trench, put the grow bags in, dig it. So I had a natural sort of drainage trench, but they'll be fine. It's not soil's not dry, so there'll be no problems. I should imagine I'll get a crop off them. It's not about getting a mass production. It's just there's a space there, put them in, and then as I start harvesting other things, I can start planting other things actually in the ground then. Right, that's it for this video. Hope you found it sort of interesting. You know, a few little bits and bobs of jobs going on. Like I said, there'll be more videos to come with a bit of obviously some bits of building work going on in it, and obviously a look at the plot, and then another look at how things are getting on back here. Planting sweet corn out, that's all to come. You know, in the next few weeks. You know, and it says right through to the harvest season when the broccoli starts coming and the other potatoes. So there's plenty of videos to come all through the season. You know, I'll try and just batch them together as and when I can do, you know, some work up at the plot, you know, because time's quite restricted at the minute with obviously things with the band and caring for my father and that. You know, there are some time constraints. So it's quite challenging to actually get everything done. So, like I say, next one will be from the allotment. You know, there'll be some footage from there, because I know some of you wanted to see how things are getting on, and things are doing okay. You know, nothing real problematic. It's a bit of an eyesore, that one corner, you know, but I need to get on with that. So thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you next time.